Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84. It's the first Sunday of May and the sun's actually out, and as you can see I've managed to get my hair trimmed at last, so it's a bit more a bit more manageable. This is a very quick intro, 30 seconds. For people who haven't been following my channel since last year, you might not be aware, but at the beginning of each month in the summer months, I try and do it on the first Sunday, weather permitting. I do a quick walk around of the garden. It's very small, doesn't take long, just having a quick look at the various hardy fruits and a few ornamental flowers that I've got, and I try and do it once a month at the beginning of the month, so that I've got a record of how things grow during the summer, and it might be of interest to other people in similar climates to also see how things grow. So I just thought I'd introduce myself and say hello. Obviously I'm Brett, this is my channel Lionheart84, exotic fruit growing enthusiast. Please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up, and obviously if you hit the bell you'll be notified on new videos as they come out. So let me flip the camera around and we'll have a quick look around and see what's what on the first tour of the year. So here we are with the first tour of the year. This is all of my hardy fruiting and flowering plants. I'm going to flick around them very quickly, and I'm not going to be able to remember what they all are, which is what sometimes happens, but if I can remember I'll try and run through them. This I consider to be my sort of nursery area. This is the decking that I have the younger plants on, the ones that have just been potted up. In about 2 to 3 weeks time this whole area will be taken over by the tropicals that are currently in the kitchen, and obviously they'll come outside, and then these will move to another part of the garden, by which time they should be starting to get settled. So without further ado we'll flick around them very quickly. Tree at the front here is a carob tree. I've potted it up since repotted it since getting it. Wasn't happy with the roots, they looked pretty rotted to me, so I'm hoping that this new mix I've gone in will improve it and it'll recover. The plant behind it is a Pakistan mulberry. I believe that's a black variety. The leaves look a bit shriveled to me. It might have a virus, but I'm going to repot that and see if I can get that into a nice fresh soil, and we'll see what happens. Also behind it is a very tiny grafted Pakistan mulberry. The tree next to it is a blue sausage tree or blue finger tree. That's Decaisnea fargesii. Actually it's got flower buds on it, I can see appearing here. That got frosted, but it's making a recovery now. This one here is showing growth, is my Japanese raisin tree. That's Havenia dulcis. I've got a few seedlings from last year looking pretty poorly of Loquat from seeds grown from the local shop. This is my mulberry that got badly frosted a couple of weeks ago, the first one to come out, and that's obviously been frosted, so I'm hoping it looks like it's making a recovery now. Some of the shoots are coming out. I think the variety, let me read the label, that variety is called Carmen. That's one of my newly repotted pineapple guavas or feijoas there. At the front I've got my Chinese mulberry. That's Macluria tricuspidata. Got another mulberry at the front here. This one is agate. That's my attempt at grafting on the fig behind there. Hasn't come to anything at the moment. Got another feijoa or pineapple guava here. This one is Apollo. I think the one to the left that I didn't name was, let's have a look, see, that's Coolidge, the one on the left. Got some at the back here. We've got at the back that tiny little plant is a white Pakistan mulberry. The fig in front of it is a yellow fig. Can't remember the name of it. It's not easy to read it either. The little fig next to it is a Ronde de Bordeaux, and then the third fig next to it, let's have a look at the label because I can't remember. Noir de Carom, that's a black one as well. Let's push that label back in so I don't lose it too quickly. Easier said than done. At the front here I've got a small seedling pawpaw, unnamed variety of course. two of my recent honeyberry purchases at Balalaika. That little plant with the pinnate leaves is a Szechuan pepper tree. There's my third new pineapple guava, that's Marion, not looking so healthy, that one. We just run around here quickly. We've got another honeyberry and a goji berry down there. Got a larger goji berry plant here. This is doing really nicely, this one. And then next to it is my Azores blueberry. And down there we've got some palm seedlings that I was kindly given by friends. Now in this large pot is an unnamed pomegranate variety. Apparently it originally came from, I think it was Cyprus. Family brought it over. Might well be a seed grown plant, so I've no idea if it will ever fruit. It did get a few flowers last year, but it's just too late in the season to set fruits here. And quickly looking at the other side is my crimson leaf peach that came bare root a few weeks ago. Quite pleased with how it's doing. You can see the lovely new growth coming out, and I didn't think it had set any peaches at first, but I have now noticed one or two possible. You can probably see that there if I can get it into focus. Never focuses when you want it to. There's a peach here, so and there's a couple here that look as if they might set, so I might get a couple of peaches on it this year. Remains to be seen. So let's speed things up. In the back there I've got an ornamental climbing plant. That's my Butilon, starting to flower already. It flowers for a very long period. As you know, I've got plenty of Agapanthus here, so those are just the early season Agapanthus there. One of my Daphnes, that's for flowering purposes only. I can't remember the variety. Got a Chilean guava there planted in ground. That's the variety Flambeau, the multi-variegated one. There's a smaller Daphne odora variety at the front there, and next to it a camellia. At the front here I've got my in-ground lemon, which has survived another winter. As you can see, it looks pretty claritic. I'm going to try and feed this with various feeds to try and get some colour back into it. Although part of the problem is simply because it's so wet here in winter, the leaves stop, the roots stop working, they don't pick up the nutrients from the ground. I don't think it actually needs feeding, it's just a problem with the nutrient absorption, but should be looking okay in a month or two's time. At the front here is the first of my blueberries. This variety is Chandler, which I believe is, I think that's a mid-season one. At the back there you'll see the kiwi berry. That's Actinidia arguta isai. That got badly frosted a couple of weeks ago. You can see the remains of all the burnt growth, and you won't be able to see it now, but I have seen on 2 or 3 shoots some very small flower buds still that weren't destroyed by the frost. So it does look as if I'm still going to get a few flowers on it this year, which is quite promising, as it will be its first year of flowering. More Agapanthus at the front. Hiding among there, that grassy looking leafed plant is an Eremerus. That's a foxtail lily. That should produce lovely tall flower stems by June or July. This is the first of my named pineapple guavas or feijoas. This one is Mammoth. Behind it is I think a mid-season blueberry. That one is called Jersey. And this blueberry is Darrow. That's an early season one, or meant to be early season. You can see the lovely foliage colour on it. There's another Eremerus down there. On the fence is my ornamental passion flower. That has been hit really hard by the frost this year, but I'm expecting that the main stems will probably shoot out and be okay. Now I'll obviously cut back all the dead growth in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and that should come right up from the base again. That variety is Amethyst, but that is ornamental only. This is my largest pineapple guava, but this is an unknown seedling grown variety. This is one that I picked up on eBay a couple of years ago, and it produces round fruits that frankly are very small and not very edible. It's really here now just for decorative purposes and to pollinate the other name varieties that I've got in the garden. Now interestingly, the only persimmon that didn't get hit by the frost of all my persimmons was the only in-ground one I've got, which is not a name variety. It's a seedling growing khaki or Asian persimmon. So as that was grown from seed and it's not grafted, it might be several years before it even produces flowers, and it's quite likely the fruits won't be edible because it's grown from seed. It's going to revert to type, but it doesn't seem to have been affected by frost like the other plants, which I suppose is a good thing. Next to it, I've got my Caesalpinia gillesii. That's a Mediterranean or Caribbean shrub that's here for purely ornamental purposes. It has wonderful flowers, and that's survived. It's a little bit frost tender, but as you can see, it's had no appreciable dieback on it, and there's lots of new growth coming out. Now in the ground here I've got an unnamed pomegranate. This is coming out nice and early, lovely. Had some flowers on it last year. I don't know if it would ever fruit, but we'll see what happens. Tucked away behind that, very sheltered, is the first of my named pawpaws. That one is Sunflower. And then behind there I've got a Cardiocrinum giganteum. My third climbing plant, which is for ornamental purposes, is a Campsis or trumpet vine. Can't remember the variety, but I can always look it up later if anyone's interested. That's purely for ornamental purposes. Plenty more Agipanthus all the way along the front, as you can see. Then I've got an Australian bottle brush here, a Callistemon, which is again purely grown for ornamental purposes. Next to it I've got my second named pineapple guava that's in grounds. This one is called Triumph. Had quite a lot of fruits on it last year that were small but perfectly edible. Behind the Triumph is a Buddleia, which is a butterfly bush. Still got my cyclamen flowering on the grounds there. This one is a Crenum powellii at the front, not an Agipanthus. And at the back, I probably showed you in a shorts video the other day, I've got a tree peony. This isn't herbaceous. This is the tree peony. I've originally grew this one from seed several years ago, so pretty pleased with how that's been doing, to be honest. And there's a small Hebe down there which is purely for decorative purposes, but I'm very pleased with the tree peony because that's taken about 6 or 7 years to get to that size at least, so it's finally made it. So we'll move over, pause the video there, move to the other side of the garden. So we've moved over to the other side now. I can look at some of my trees in quick order. This one is my Asian pear, this one is Shinziki. If you saw the short video, it's flowered very heavily. It's got a little bit of stem dieback on it, but I don't think that's going to be a major problem. It does sometimes suffer from problems like that. But it does look as if some of the fruits are set, so provided I don't have any troubles with the tree, should have a handful of Asian pears on it. The first mulberry here, which you can now see is budding out, is pink Moldovan, or Moldovan pink, depending which way you prefer to name it. That seems to have been fine over winter, fruited quite well last year. The first fig here, this is just a plain brown turkey. See if I can walk around without falling over. A bit worried about the look of my pomegranate at the back there. That's Molar Delche. Don't see any signs of growth on it, and if you see all of my other pomegranates, they've got a lot of new shoots on, so I'm a little bit worried that that's had some root issues or cold issues over winter, so we'll see what happens. The next mulberry here, this is Illinois Everbearing. That's looking perfectly fine. I've got a persimmon here, a Hanafuyu, in the pot. This suffered a lot of the early growth damage, the same as my other persimmons, but some of the shoots that hadn't come out are looking okay at the moment, so that's quite promising. Now, just going to flick very quickly over the other plants. There's a Hongli Asian pear at the back there. Don't yet know if there's any fruit set, but I'm hoping to get, it'd be nice to get half a dozen fruit off that this year. In front of it I've got 4 jujubes. These are very late to wake up here, normally not until the end of May or beginning of June, and a couple of them don't really look very good. So again, I'm a bit worried if they're suffering from being in pots, but that's a problem with the gamble I'm taking here. This one here is a Cornus, I think this one's Cornus kooza. Should produce edible fruits and large white flowers when it gets big enough. I'm not going to name all of my persimmons. You've already seen the damage some of them have suffered from, very badly damaged from the frosts, the very cold weather we had a couple of weeks ago, unfortunately. But some of them, if you can see at the back there, some of them where the early shoots hadn't come out, subsequently have been producing shoots, and they're okay. That one in the middle was very late. That one there was very late coming out, and it only had minimal damage on 1 or 2 buds. Fortunately, the other shoots are okay, but some of them, there's a Garrettson at the back there, which is an American persimmon. They come out much earlier. That's been absolutely decimated, but I expect them all to recover and obviously put out new growth. So I'm not going to go through all the persimmon varieties today because there's too many of them, so I'll just quickly run the camera over so you can see which ones, like this Fuyu, most of the growth is completely dead on them, but it's already starting to produce new buds further down the stem, so in about a month's time that should be looking quite good. And of course there's no risk of frosts then, but as you can see, all of the other persimmons have taken a hard battering. Actually, I just remembered what I should have done on the other side. Let me just pause this and go to the other side. Sorry, not sure how I missed the biggest plant here. This is my heavily flowering pawpaw, Asamina triloba. This is an unnamed seed grown variety that I bought from a nursery over here. It's not a grafted plant, so it's completely no way of knowing if it'll ever produce edible fruit, but I should be able to use it to cross-pollinate my name varieties. So sorry, I somehow missed the biggest plant. Let me flip back to the other side. Yeah, so going back to the persimmons, you can see that there's 1 or 2, like that one down there and the one at the back there, that came out late, that have avoided the worst of the frost damage. But I'm afraid a lot of the others got very, very badly affected. But that's the name of the game with plants in this country and getting this particularly cold weather. Got a fig plant at the front here. This is an unnamed large red variety. At the back, you can probably just about see it, is a named pawpaw. That is Prima. That's the one that I got my first fruits on last year, and I'm hoping obviously I'm going to get some this year. There's another fig at the back which I can't remember the name of at the moment. I'm not going to climb round there. A smaller pawpaw here. This is Pennsylvania Golden. This is doing quite well in the pot, and I can't say the same for this one at the front here that looks very dead looking. This large fig with 2 branches on it is Goutte d'Or, and the one behind it is a Cypress unnamed one. Then I've got another fig on the floor there which is, can't remember, but I'll have a look at it later, the label, and put a name on the video. And the one that's in front of it is a Panache, which is a striped one. There is the remains of my pecan or pecan nut, if you're American, plant that I bought in winter 2019-2020, and it never woke up last year. I just haven't thrown it away yet, but I'm pretty sure it's dead. On the wall, got plenty of flowers on my chocolate vines, of which I've now got 3 varieties. That's Akebia quinata. I've got 2 purple ones bought from different sources, and I've got the white flowered one you've seen other videos, so I'm hoping that by next year we'll get cross-pollination on all of those. I've got a small pomegranate down at the bottom here, which is Provence. This is my Chilean guava butterball. Another Chilean guava at the front, which is, what is that one? That's the large fruity one, isn't it? Let me see what it's called. Kapow. It's meant to have a larger fruit than the others. Put the label back in that so I don't lose it. This is a medlar. Has got flower buds on it. I'm obviously hoping they will open, but we'll have to wait and see. This is the first of my repotted Loquats. The new growth has suffered a bit. Not sure if that's transplant plant shock, the cold snap we had, or fertiliser burn, but I haven't fertilised them, at least insignificantly, so these may have suffered the new shoots from that particularly cold spell we had. This first variety is Oliver. Then I've got 3 pineapple guavas here in pots. There's a Gemini, another Mammoth and another Triumph. This is purely for flowering purposes, ornamental. That's a Calicanthus down here. Another Chilean guava, looks like it's suffered from possibly cold or possibly, I don't know, it might just be too dry. I'll have to give that a good watering. I think it's suffering from lack of water, to be honest, because we've had no rain for a few weeks, and it is a risk with potted plants. And that's another Flambeau. I've got my other Loquat at the back, which is Mrs. Cookson. This is a flat nectarine that I bought bare root very recently. No signs of growth on it yet, but I think it'll be okay. Then I've got another mulberry here. This one is Repsime. It's black mulberry. In the ground, no idea if they're going to come up this year because they don't like our wet winters. I've got 3 passion fruit of the Maypop variety. And they did produce a few flowers last year, but I'm obviously hoping that I might get more flowers this year if they come up, but they die away to below ground, so you don't know until May or June if they're going to come up or not. Hopefully they will. And that's really my main run of plants there. That's all of my fruiting trees. I've got one last little border here which has got in it a variegated rhododendron and then a load of Atropanthus, and it's got my largest fig tree, which you can just about see against the background of the sunshine, and that's got quite a lot of brabers on it, so might get a few figs on it this year. We'll have to wait and see. And finally my 2 camellias, which as you can see are very yellow, very chloritic looking. I think they're very pot bound, so we'll have to see about possibly repotting those this year with some fresh compost and giving them a good feed, because I think they're suffering from lack of acidity, but they're probably very pot bound by now, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, that was a quick tour of my garden. I've kept it as short as possible, still come out to 20 minutes unfortunately, so it gets a bit boring if you're not interested, but obviously if you will, if you give me a thumbs up I'd appreciate it. If you'd still got some work to finish over there on the fence. Obviously if you can subscribe to my channel I'd be appreciative. Share the video with anyone thinks might be interested, and if you remember to click on the bell you'll get update videos as they come out. So I'll catch up with you all in the next video. Brett out for now.